let's look at our examples. Tons of examples to go through. Let's start with the basic chat. Okay. So here's our basic chat. What are we going to do in our basic chat? Well, we're just going to say AI chat, what is callbox, and print the results. It's that easy. That's how we integrate with the default provider and the default model. So if we actually come in here and I'm going to go back, okay, I am in this directory again. All right. So I'm going to run this example. So I can say BoxLang examples 01 basic chat. And just by running this basically is going to check my environment variable, do my environment variables, my config, execute this basic chat. So it went out. Obviously, I'm not getting any feedback right now. And it's going to go to OpenRouter and it's going to basically say, hey, what is callbox? And then it's going to come back and print my results. And as you'll see, it's going to take its sweet time. Like I said, I'm using the free tier, so it might not be the fastest in the world. But there you go. It came back and let's look at it a little bit bigger. It says callbox is an open source web application framework, key points, and there you go. So that's how easy I can start working with any large language model. That's it. I can just leverage the BIF called AI Chat. So in order for you to integrate with any of those AI capabilities, your main entry point can either be a creation of a class or it can be a BIF. And all those are obviously documented here on BoxLang AI. You see that there are tons of documentation here. There's also references, but you can see here the built-in functions. So tons of built-in functions that you have available for you to integrate, and as well as the creation of different samples. So this is the first adventure, AI chat. So let's do some debugging because we don't want to be waiting. I want to see what's going on. So I'm going to go to the boxlang.json and I'm going to say log request to console equals true. Okay, so I want to make sure that I log that request is coming because it might be bad formations, etc. Right? I want to make sure that it does it correctly. So if I do this now, you'll see that now it detected my configuration change. And you'll see that it says, hey, there's an AI request going out at this time. The provider is OpenRouter. The model that it's using is the free one. Here's the endpoint that I'm going to use. There's a timeout. How many messages have I done already? And what am I sending? Well, this is the message that I'm sending. And then it's going to basically come back and give me my results and present them to me. Okay. And there it is. Okay. There's the presentation. So that's how easy we can start chatting with any LLM. Basic chat. That's it. Right. Now, remember, the AI chat BIF has tons of other different types of arguments, okay? And we can discover them in the references as well. So example one, done. Let's move on and make it a little bit more complex. So now I can say, hey, I want to create a custom provider and use the default model. So I'm still going to use AI chat. I'm still going to basically say what is callbox. But in my case, I'm going to pass the third argument. And granted, these are positionals. I can do named arguments and it'll look a little bit nicer. But choose your poison. I can see that the AI channel, I'll make a note here, receives 3 arguments. The first one will be the messages that I'm sending. The second one will be the params that I'm going to be sending into the model. And then the third one are the options. So params are basically things that are going to be sent into the large language model. And the options are specific to BoxLang AI. So in this case, I'm switching providers and I'm saying, hey, instead of using the default one, use Claude. Okay. And it will go to the config and they'll say, okay, where's Claude? Here's Claude. Here are default parameters. You can also add options here. Okay. So you have that capability and it'll print out the results. And then if I go down here, it says, okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Claude with a specific model. Okay. These are the params. And then I'm going to print the results, right? So we're going to leave that running and we're going to say BoxLang examples 02, and it's going to run. There you see my requests going out and we're going to start seeing those results. So very easily now with this AI chat, I can start talking to different models. And here you go. It gave me a different answer, as you see, for when I used the Claude Sonnet, that when I used the other one as well, right here. So all within that AI chat, I can start adding diversity and targeting specific models and specific providers. Let's go and see a little bit more fun stuff. All right, let's look at our options. So here it is, the same thing, but it's going to do the log request to the console. Well, I did it globally, but I can do it at this request only. So imagine you turn it off everywhere, and then you basically just do it a la carte. So I can do that. I can basically come in here and say, okay, I'm going to turn that off now. And I'm just going to leave it for this request. And it will basically log that request to the console. If you wanted to do the response, you would do log response. I'm not going to do it because that's going to show probably my API key. So I'm going to skip on that one. And then let's get a little bit interesting. We already did this one, so I'm just going to comment it out here. I'm not going to do that one, and I'm not going to do this one. But let's do these ones. Here, I can choose a return format. And this was also very important for us. We wanted productivity. All these other libraries basically have to define a schema and all this stuff. And we try to make it easier for you. You can get very complex, but we wanted to introduce it little by little. I can get all the information out of this from the LLM. Not only a single message, give me all the messages that come back. I can get the raw response right here. So this basically is going to give me the response in raw format, and you'll see that from OpenRouter. And then here is also a very interesting thing. I can say, hey, AI chat, give me the top 3 features of callbacks in JSON format. And I can say return format JSON. So now I can produce or shape my result as I see fit. So let's go here and run BoxLang samples 03, and it's going to start running. I'll start producing the results, and once they come back, we'll show them. Okay, but you can see here just a review for this example. You can have a return format, okay, which can have different values, and all of this is in the docs, of course. You can get all the data coming back, all the messages, the raw data coming back, and then in specific JSON format. All right, let's look at here. Woo, lots of stuff. Let's see here. Here is getting all response data. You can see that it basically produced an array of messages that came back from the LLM. Then we get back into raw. So this is the raw response. So you can see the ID of the request, the provider, the model, the object, when it was created, your different choices, etc. So this is basically now interacting with the model raw. And then at the end, we can see here, it basically says, hey, I want the top 3 features, and there's the JSON. Top 3 features, and there's the JSON. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So very easily now I've created the ability to get different types of responses from my large language model. All right, let's get a little bit funkier here. Let's get more specific on the information that we get, because we're going to be building a solution here. So this is what's referred to as structured output. And this is something that we really wanted to add into BoxLang, where basically I can request the LLM to return data for me, and we've created a new BIF called AIPopulate. And if you guys are familiar with Callbox, we have the ability to populate objects super easily in Callbox for ORM, for different types of stuff that we do with objects. And we did the same with AI. So now you have even an AIPopulate utility function here, which allows you to populate classes from AI responses. So here it is. Here's my prompt. I have a product description that says extract the product info from the following text and return only valid JSON. Let me leave it running so that way it's faster. And then I'll do the example. BoxLang examples 04. All right, leave that running. So I basically say, here is the whole description. Maybe this is augmented. Maybe this is coming from a vector database. And I can say, hey, chat, here's the messages, but I want you to do the return format to be this object. So you can see now that on their models, I have a new product class. And here's my product. I just have a class with a title, price, category, in stock, and even features that it's an array. So it'll actually populate complexity for you and strong typing if you needed to. So that's what it does. And it says, hey, here's my extracted product. And there you go, right? So here we go. And here's the extracted product right here. So very, very easily, you can use structured output, give it a specific BoxLang class or even a CFC here if you wanted to. And then it's going to use our AIPopulate BIF and take that information from the large language model and populate your classes, okay? So it'll automatically create a schema for you. Now, this is a very easy way to populate classes. Now, if you have very convoluted schemas, you can use population with schemas. And that's in the docs, and that's more of an advanced topic. I'm not going to go through it. All right. Let me go next. Chat with different types of messages. All right, so I'm going to leave this one running as well. This way, it's a little bit faster when I show the responses. So we'll go for 05 and we'll chat. And what this will do is that we have the capability now. We're introducing a new BIF. The new BIF is now called AI message. And this allows you to fluently create a message conversation that you can send to the large language model. So here I'm creating a system message. I say, hey, AI message, I want a system. Okay, and there's my system. And then it says, I'm showing you the system message. And then I can create a user message by just saying, hey, AI message, here's a message. And you can even say message, get non-system messages, right? So there's all kinds of abilities for you to do if you wanted to get deep into the metadata. So here is where I can create a message also with a struct. So I can say, hey, create a message with a role and a content. Why is this important? Because the majority of the LLMs have different capabilities. So that means that this will work with OpenAI, but maybe it won't work with Gemini. So you can get very specific if you wanted to. You also can create an array of messages right here. So I can pass a whole array into AI message and it's going to build them accordingly. And then I can send all those messages to AI. So here at the end, I say basically, here's my chat, send the entire array. Here you go. Or I can send the struct, or I can send the actual object. It's your choice. And of course, here it is. And there are all the different messages I sent. And there was my response. So you have a lot of capabilities here when building messages. We touched a little bit about multimodality. So let's look at the multimodality example. Okay.